So starting with a good creature cutout makes this project a lot easier, so you don't have to waste a lot of time removing debris and kind of shrapnel around your creature. So let's look at those elements together. So this is where I left off, and this composition would be perfectly fine because when I crop it, you can see that the creature takes up more than two of the third boxes, the rule of thirds. But it limits the potential for the image. So even though it looks really good on a screen here, this is at 200%, so this is what the eye would see. It is not big enough for printing, right? And that's just something I want you to acknowledge and understand about the use of assets. But I think I remember from last class, the one that the class liked the most was not the small one in the background, but it was the middle or the foreground one. So let's position it for this and find the composition. Now, this is the smart object. I'm going to keep my hero asset as a smart object as long as I can. So what can I do to alter it? I hit Command T to get transform, just like we've been doing all along with compositing. And if I want to change the angle of the feet a little bit, I can just rotate it so that now he's not on a flat surface, he's on this slightly tilted surface. Right? That's one way. I could even play with distort, just like I did when I made the different parts of his anatomy match. And I can play a little bit with the perspective on the creature, right? So if I distort it a bit within this lens, because this is in the foreground, the part of the creature that's closest to my eye, which is this leg and his beak and that arm, I can make a little bit bigger than the parts that are further back. And so if I exaggerate that like this is putting the creature in perspective. I'm going to undo that, Command Z, but I think that amount is helpful. Those feet are feeling more squarely on the floor than they were before. So let's see what that difference looked like. From this to this. Right? And I can do all of that while it's still a smart object. So I'm not losing any pixel quality at all. The other thing I can do is what's called puppet warp. But I can't do that as a smart object. So what am I going to do? I'm going to try to clean up my layers here, because I have a lot. I'm going to erase any layers I don't need, because this isn't my assignment 1, this is my proving ground 1. So what does that mean? All the smart objects from assignment 1, I don't need those anymore. All of these things that aren't visible, I don't need them anymore. I don't need this big smart object anymore. I don't need this one. I don't need all those layers I didn't use. And if you have a locked onion skin sketch layer on the top, I definitely don't need that anymore. Right? So I'm deleting all these things. Now I only have the layers that are currently visible, and even those I can simplify. So first of all, I need to find my composition. And the reason I want you to figure out the composition and your placement earlier rather than later is so you're really focused on the elements you need to control. So I'm going to use the crop tool. I'm going to press up with the arrows and then down with the arrows just to get the third lines to appear. And this composition does seem to work, right? He is occupying more than two of the boxes on the third rule. And he's lined up on the third line, so that's pretty good. But can that composition be improved? Well, maybe if I did this, it will make it a little bit stronger. So I don't have to have quite so much space off to the side. Yeah, I think that works. Okay. Next, I look at the elements underneath my creature, because my creature is in front of everything right now, because I'm putting him in the foreground. I have the boat that he's standing on. I have the other boat, which already I can tell feels like it's pulling attention away from my creature. So I might immediately decide I want to play with direct adjustments, with levels. And now that I have my creature in the scene pulling attention, maybe I want to tone this one down a little bit, limit those highlights. Right? So my creature really looks like it has the most contrast. And then I might want to go to hue saturation, and I might want to take its saturation down a little bit, so the color in that foreground boat. And I might want to go to color balance, the 3 direct adjustments we've used all along, and I might want to put a little bit more blues into the midtones and the shadows. But in the highlights, I'm still going to warm it up just a bit, so it doesn't recede too much. So we can look in our history. It went from this to this to this to this. So kind of now that's sitting back. What's behind that? Seems like nothing that's necessary. There's this big piece. There's this kind of dock piece. There's this. Yeah, which I do think I need. There's this, which I definitely need. And I might, similarly with this piece, decide to help my creature stand out a little bit, I'm going to play with its direct adjustments. So I'm going to play with its levels, because now we have a new purpose. We're trying to showcase the creature and make it more believable. So I might reduce those highlights a little bit, make this sink further into the background. And I might play with its color balance and bring a little bit more of the blues into the midtones, like that, and into the shadows, but keep its highlights. And then we go to the big ship behind, and same thing. I want to play with levels. I want to reduce its contrast, limit its highlights, darken it a little bit, push it more into the background. Go to color balance, push it a little bit more towards the blues of that background sky. Because I'm working with foreground and background now. Right. Now you can overdo all of this, of course. So I'm trying not to move things too much, and then just take the saturation down a little bit of it. There we go. And now the eye kind of naturally goes back. Now this water maybe seems a little colorful, but I'm okay with that because we have a strong sunset. So, do we think that that color balancing of those elements helped? And I can always go back in my history and see. And I think absolutely. So without me even changing my character, they've kind of framed my character so it shows up a little bit better. So the benefit of using the PSD from assignment 1 is you can isolate those different assets that you use to build it, and you can play with the direct adjustments so that your character shows up better on it. Okay, now I can merge some of them. Right? So if I go to my far background, that sky, I can merge that if I want with these other features. Like all these boats in the water. For instance, this boat in the water. If I want to darken that ocean, I can use the burn tool. This is like a levels adjustment as a tool. 0% hardness, less than 30, and I can just darken that ocean, just on that layer. Right? And if I want to take a little bit of that intense blue away from it, I can use the sponge tool to desaturate it, just like I would dodge or burn. And it kind of pushes it more towards the grays of the background. So it's nice to have that on a separate layer that I can adjust right there. And I might even decide I don't want it so dark. I might want to dodge it and lighten it a bit, so it more reflects the colors in the sky. So that's what having separate layers does. But once you have them, really all of this is just behind my creature. And this is a layer I might actually not want. It's hard to say. It gives me some nice difference here, and it shows me the little yellow buoy behind versus not having it. Yeah, I think I want it. Okay. So what I'm going to do now, this is what's called cleaning your assets. Really, we have a combination of two things. We have our creature and we have our setting. So instead of needing to keep all of these as tons of separate assets, what I'm going to do is hold down Command and select a lot of them that I can group together. Like all of these. And then so they're selected. Then I say layer and I say merge visible. Not merge visible, sorry. Merge layers. And the shortcut for that is Command E. So when I do that, because I'm not holding down Option, right, it's going to collapse all of these into one layer. Boom. Right. I'm going to keep the sky separate because I like having control separate of the sky. And I took a lot of time cutting all that out. And then I'm going to keep this foreground boat separate in case I want to play with it. And I'm going to keep the boat that the creature is on separate so that I can play with its direct adjustments. But now I only have 5 layers. I have my creature, I have the thing it's standing on, I have the thing that's close to the thing it's standing on, I have the land, and then I have the sky. Right. So I've kind of cleaned my assets. Now I'm going to hit Command S. Make sure, again, you're not saving over assignment 1, that it's called Proving Ground. Now I am ready to alter my creature's anatomy, to angle it to best fit the scene. And I did that a little bit with Distort, with the Smart Object, but now in order to fully be able to pose it, I'm going to hit Command J on the hero asset, and I'm going to mark it orange. And then I'm going to right-click it, and I'm going to rasterize it, something we haven't done in quite a while. So what does rasterizing a smart object do? It locks the pixels in at the current size and position that you have it. But it allows me then to erase, and it allows me to edit in all ways. And what's a lot of fun for this project is it allows me to do something called Puppet Warp. So this is different than Command T and Warp. When you do Command T and Warp, you get a 9-square grid, and then you push and pull it like it's cookie dough, right? But the problem is whenever you do that, it softens it. So what I'm going to do instead is click on Edit and click on Puppet Warp, which is 2 options above Free Transform, which is the thing we've always been using. Puppet Warp is really good in Photoshop. It's really slow in Photopea. It's because it takes a lot of processing. But what it does is instead of just 9 squares to warp with, it maps a polygon grid, a polygonal grid, on top of your cutout. So it makes it look like a 3D model. It is not a 3D model. It is still just flat pixels. But it cuts it up in this way, which gives you a lot more opportunity to warp it. The problem is you can't just start pushing and pulling. You have to build the skeleton. So I want the feet to be one point where I can control it. So I'm going to pin it by